Hi, Kes here. Welcome to another chess concepts video. Today, we're going to talk about beginner concepts for tactics. Tactics are moves or combinations of moves you can use to give yourself a decisive advantage or checkmate your opponent. And we're going to look at a few of them in this video. Excuse me. And we're also going to kind of talk about some tactical themes. And this is just basic. We're going to go in the advanced tactics video. We're going to look at how you can kind of spot these tactics in game. They say chess is 99% tactics, but 99% of of the 99% is identifying the tactics and being able to execute them. So we have Puzzle Russia, and these are chess tactics puzzles on chess.com. You kind of want to familiarize yourself with some of these tactical patterns and these tactical motifs so that in your own games you can spot them and give yourself an advantage over your opponent. So this puzzle, we're going to go through a few of these puzzles. I just started at number 6 here. We're going to go through a few of these puzzles, and I'm gonna give you a sec to pause the video after each puzzle. I'm gonna tell you the tactical motif, and then we're gonna play it out here in the Puzzle Rush. Okay, so now the one issue with the Puzzle Rush is actually I think I can just go to this really quick. The one issue with the Puzzle Rush is it's like every puzzle, but sometimes you can go to these learning, and then you can pick which of these categories on the side, like discovered attack, double check, doubled rook, en passant, and it has my pass rates there. I don't know what my highest is. Battery is 56%. Ooh, rook endgame. I'm at 100%. I'm 1 for 1. Look at that. Oh, pawn endgame. I'm 0 for 1. So maybe we should learn some pawn endgames. But you can pick these different categories if you ever want to. Oh, comes 0 0 for that. I was about to say like 0%. You can never. You can pick those puzzles. Do whatever you want to do. So anyway, let's go back to our Puzzle Rush. This is untimed. So I'll give you a sec to pause and figure out the solution. Okay. So the solution is pawn moves up to e4. This is called a fork. It forks. There's a fork in the road. You can attack the knight or the bishop. Now, if we go pawn to e4 and he takes with his knight, we could take back with our knight. He takes with his bishop. We take back with our rook. And at the end of the day, we lose these 2 pieces, and he loses these 2 pieces. So that's a win for us because a bishop is worth more than a pawn. So let's do that. Okay, so he just, instead of going through that big exchange, he decided to move his bishop. So we just take his knight. Okay. Next puzzle. This puzzle is called a skewer, also known as a discovered attack. So the solution here is bishop f5. Bishop f5 puts a check on the king. The king can't take the bishop because of this pawn. And then it opens up this discovered attack on his bishop, which is vulnerable behind it. So we take that. All right, so here is another puzzle. So see if you can pause and figure this one out. All right, there's a weird noise coming from outside. All right, this is another fork, also known as a double attack. But it's a very common theme, especially if your opponent kind of overextends and leaves their king a little vulnerable here. It's queen to queen a5. I was like, what are these coordinates? Queen a5. So we check him, and now his bishop is undefended. So we moved our queen to get in position with the check, and also attack this bishop. So we pick up the undefended bishop there. So hopefully you're kind of picking up on some of these patterns, but feel free to pause and figure this one out. Okay, it took me a second, obviously, because I was thinking for that long time. But this is another fork. So you have like 3 forks. Uh, this fork is queen to d2. We attack both the rook and the bishop. He saves his rook, so we take his bishop. This is very similar to one we did a couple puzzles ago, and I see it immediately. Okay, so hopefully you found queen a4 check. And then we take his bishop, just like that one we did 2 puzzles ago. We use the check, get our queen in position, and take his bishop. Okay, so this is called a pin. His rook is blocking the check, but it's pinned to his king. He can't move it. Now, obviously, like, we didn't play any moves, right? That's not the whole puzzle. But that is just one motif, is that sometimes you can create these pins, and now this rook can't move. Now, if we were to say take this rook, his rook could then take because his bishop's no longer here protecting it. But that's actually the solution. And I'll give you a sec to figure out why it's the solution. Okay, it's the solution because after this trade, we go rook f1 check, and suddenly we have this extra attack on his bishop. So we attack both his king here and his bishop here with our rook, and we pick up his bishop. So now we're on to puzzle number 13, after we've got 12 in a row. And this is when stuff gets a little tricky. But this is another form of double attack. All right, so sometimes what you want to do when looking at these chess puzzles is count the number of attackers and number of defenders on a given piece. So this rook has one. This rook here has. We'll make this blue. This rook here has 1 attacker, our queen, and 1 defender, this rook. That's an even trade. Or that's even numbers. We'll just trade a queen for a rook. Not worth it. What are the other pieces we can attack? Well, this knight. This knight has 2 attackers and 1 defender. And if we trade queens, but also get his knight, that we win that trade there. So we take his knight with the queen. The reason we don't take with the rook is because his rook could take our queen here. And then, so he takes back, and then we, at the end of the day, we just are up a knight. Puzzle number 14, all right. And we're about 8 minutes here, so we're at 8 minutes here. This is a checkmate 2, it looks like. So we're not going to do too many more puzzles, but this is a checkmate 2. So think about what should key you into this might be a checkmate, is his king is kind of vulnerable here. He doesn't have that many defenders. He has this knight. This queen is kind of a defender, but it's cut off by the knight. And this knight, I mean, it can go here or here, but it can't really defend. And this rook's totally cut off. So when the king's pretty by itself with not, and I guess his pawn's also a defender. It controls these two, and you can't like check from here because the pawn can block. Or I guess the knights could take, but the knight could take here and the queen could take here. But regardless, when you see a king pretty open like this, you want to be looking for ways to attack it. Okay, so it's rook h1. He gives up the knight, and we take that, and he has to give up the queen, but it's still checkmate either way. All right, so puzzle number 15. Wow, we're making some good progress here, and you're white in this puzzle. This is a bit of an endgame puzzle. This is tricky. I think I might flip this one. Alright, I'll give you a sec to figure it out. I have a plan. Yes, okay. So it was king c4. So the plan is we're going to try to move here and scare his rook off. And he just gives it up for the pass pawn. So if you watched the endgame video, you saw how we increased the activity of his pieces until his rook had no choice but to take the pawn, and then we won it. Alright. Alright, this looks like a, I don't know if it's a checkmate for sure, but it's a very strong attacking combination. And this is the last puzzle we'll do. It's a very strong attacking combination. His king isn't too vulnerable. Here, it's got this knight as a defender. It's got these pawns, but we can undermine it. We have a lot of attackers by the king. We have this pawn. We have we have the queen. We have the king. We have this bishop, which is kind of pointing there, but this pawn's in the way. So we'll eliminate one of the defenders by taking this knight, and he pushes his pawn. But this creates a weakness. It creates a weakness right here, which is what we take. And he has to move there because that's the only way he can save his king. This is checkmate if we get our queen there. So he has to play the bishop move. So now how do we keep up the attack? It looks like we're just kind of fucked. We can't move our queen here or here or here anymore. But we can kablam through with our rook, and even though we can take with his pawn, it'll still lead to a checkmate. The rest of the puzzle just didn't show it. Okay, so hopefully that that guided you through some puzzles. You can pause the video and try to solve this one. But we're not going to do it here on video because I don't want to waste time. But anyway, not that I can't figure it out. I will see if I get it, and I'll put it in the description. But if generally what you want to do is you want to look for, okay, king's vulnerable, maybe it's a check, something having to do with that. Look for undefended pieces. Look for, and sometimes we'll talk about this in the advanced tactics video. Sometimes you want to look for if there's pieces that are doing a job, and if you could trade those pieces off, then you can get yourself an advantage. So anyway, this has turned into a long video, and I apologize, but I'll see you in the next one.